Hi, my name is James Stropus with Claritas Access Group. If you run a medical practice that buys, stores, or administers RX or prescription drugs in office, this is something you probably should be aware of. For a long time, the Drug Supply Chain Security Act, or DSCSA, felt like this was a pharmacy issue or a manufacturer, maybe even a distributor issue. The fact is, the medical practice wasn't ignored, it just didn't look like it applied to them. Well, that's all changed now. As this 10-year law, a phased approach law, has now developed into now what we call the enforcement stage, that's when it took place in the start of 2025. First manufacturers and then distributors. And then December of 2025, the FDA started inspecting medical practices. FDA inspectors are looking at medical practices as part of the regulated drug supply chain. They're not asking questions, they're asking for proof. And specifically, you may be asking, what are they asking for? Well, part of the Drug Supply Chain Security Act, or DSCSA, they're asking part of that law is, have you verified what you ordered to what you received? Is there a clear process for that? Uh, for what you have on the shelf or supposed to have on the shelf, have you documented where it was administered? And they're not looking for documented processes for you to dig up and give to them later. They want it in real time. And what we're starting to see as an audit group is where the gaps are starting to exist. I call these gaps a wrinkle in the supply chain. Now, what does that really mean? So, manufacturers back in 2023 had to be fully compliant to the DSCSA law. And then December of 2024, distributors had to have be compliant, and so did pharmaceutical or pharmacies, dispensaries. But once that phased out, unfortunately, medical practices were given a year to get the processes in place. And a lot of it's a documentation of what is repeatable versus what do you do actually day in, day out. So, what we're seeing is practices aren't necessarily verifying their vendors. Part of this DSCSA is every vendor should be authorized and they should have a licensed law, they should have a license certificate with the FDA as well as a distributor, they should be able to prove their pharmacy laws per state. But more importantly, after that, not more importantly, but after that, what are you doing about lot number inspections? Are you logging them? Are you rotating stock properly against expirations? Do you know what lot numbers you've used? Because if there's ever a recall, that's what they're going to look for. How about quarantine or questionable drugs? Is there a quarantine process? If not, that is an exposure for you. So I get it. Practices are busy and you guys are focused on patient care. But the inspections that are taking place, it's not about control, it's not about intent. I'm sorry, it is about control, but not intent. So not many people out there are trying to defraud the government or defraud the system, but the FDA wants to make sure that you have full control of that drug, that last mile of that drug. They want to make sure your RX inventory is being managed responsibly. So the question is this a time to sound the alarm? I think this is the time to be aware, but since FDA inspections are now not scheduled, they're just surprise. I think there could be to extent an alarm going off that you need to be aware, you need to be ready. It's not about necessarily having a software package to do this. It's really about processes. And when I talk about process, it's something that's repeatable, not just when the FDA inspectors in house. And so, what Clearness Access helps practices with, we're the only practice audit group in the country that we're aware of that actually help practices become compliant and be ready for this new federal regulated inspection phase of the DSCSA Act. If there's something we can do, either do an audit, do an assessment of what you're doing already, we'd love to talk to you about how we can help you be ready when that inspector shows up.